Today we're visiting a site called Ketef Hinnom, which was a first temple period burial site. Now, there are differences between Bayit Rishon and Bayit Sheni burial sites. Bayit Sheni, things were a little more privatized. There was a little more privacy, as in that, in general, the first stage was similar, that the bodies would be laid out inside a cave. This would have been inside a cave, except the roof collapsed. And the bodies are laid out in this area over here for the first years, approximately, until it decays entirely. And then the bones in Bayit Sheni times would have been gathered together in ossuaries or bone boxes, and each person would have their individual bone box, and it would be put together in the communal area, the family area. Usually a cave would be shared by a family. And so you'd have each individual with their own boxes. In Bayit Rishon period, while the first stage was very similar, the second stage, these bones would then be collected in the area that's known, at least by archaeologists, as the Ma'asefa, where you would be, the Asof is to gather, and you'd have the entire family's bones together in that one area, and that you can see here below. So it's a little bit different. It's not as much privacy, so to speak, but that's the difference between Bayit Rishon and Bayit Sheni. This is a Bayit Rishon burial cave. And the reason we're mentioning it here is because here we start hearing of Bavel making their way into the city and the battle and ultimate destruction of Yerushalayim. In general, at that time, people would be buried with some of their possessions. And in this case, among some of the other possessions that they found, among the skeletons and these bones, they found Babylonian arrowheads. So who would want to be buried with Babylonian arrowhead? That's what they take with them, so to speak. Well, no, that wasn't something that they brought with them. That wasn't something that they put next to them. That was something that was inside them. Now they're found amongst the bones because the body ceased to exist, but it was stuck in the body itself. That's what killed them, perhaps. And so here we find them buried with these Babylonian arrowheads next to them because that's what took their life. These were people who were actually killed by the Babylonians in the war for Yerushalayim. Perhaps these were warriors. Perhaps they were citizens. We don't really know. What we do know is that apparently, perhaps they even knew this was coming. And they tried to have help in whatever way they could, including brachot from the Kohanim. They could have been Kohanim themselves, perhaps, or maybe they just wanted to be blessed by the Kohanim because they knew what was coming. Either way, we found something among these bones that we don't have anywhere else. And this is a little scroll that was found, and at first they couldn't open it up. When they finally opened it up, they found inscribed the earliest inscribed psukim that we have in existence, that we found so far at least. And the psukim are specifically the brachot of Birkat Kohanim. Could this have been a wealthy family of Kohanim buried here in a family cave on the outskirts of Yerushalayim? Could it have been a family with Jewish warriors who sought a blessing from the Kohanim before going out to war? They wore that amulet in hopes that it would help them, but alas, fell in battle trying to defend Yerushalayim? Maybe. But the defense of Yerushalayim was too little and too late, as the only thing that really could have saved us was tshuva.